last day or the day before I was gonna fly out, I kind of ran out of memory. So that's another thing you want to keep in mind. Just take more SD cards than you think you would
If
need.
there are things that are like crazy that I've tried up until that point where like over here, this was like way or like somewhere up in like the International Space Station or even like the moon, because I'd never ever done something like this crazy. And it just like when it changed my mind or trying to stay afloat and trying to survive. If Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode in my Iceland series. So this is gonna be the last and final part for my Iceland series, which is kind of like sad, but hold your horses because we're gonna talk a lot more about the churches, the lighthouses, all the natural formations like the cliffs, the lava flow, the tectonic plate, geothermal hotspots, and like so much more in this episode. And also watch this video until the end to hear me talk about the whale watching tour, and it was like pretty amazing. Uh, all right, without further ado, we're gonna jump right in about the churches. Iceland has lots and lots of churches. They've built it along the ring road. So if you're just traveling on the ring road, you will be able to stop by at some of these famous, like really, really old churches. They are called kirkja, and all of the churches are like famous. You have some of like the black churches, like some of the red churches, and just having the landscape around you, it just enhances the photograph. So if you are into photography, you should go and visit these churches. I'm gonna attach some of the photos that I did drive along on the way. There were a bunch of churches like right next to my hotel. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add some of those photos here for you to see. All right. All right, so next up, I'm going to talk about the lighthouses that Iceland has. So now you all know it's an island, and typically on the coastal, you are going to have lighthouses. And me, I'm a big fan of lighthouses. Like if you watched my very first video in this Iceland series, you would know that the entire snowball effect all started from a lighthouse. So I am so much into lighthouses, like up in the Great Lakes. So my goal is to go to all of the lighthouses if I can. Some of them are a little bit inside the water, or like the water level has risen, but some lighthouses truly they have built it into the lake, in the Great Lake. So my hope is to like go to all of them if possible, at least the ones that are still up at this point. Um, Now, talking about the lighthouses in Iceland, again, there are older lighthouses, there are also like newer lighthouses. A lot of them are accessible. They have normal paved roads for most of them, but some of them do have unpaved roads, which kind of like it's like gravel roads, and it is pretty far deep. Um, and you might have to like drive more than like 30 minutes, which is a good about like 30 kilometers even in on like the off-roading, like the gravel roads. So be careful about those. Some of them have road closures if you're going in the winter, but during the summer you should be fine. But always like be careful, like have a 4x4. They like highly, highly recommend having a 4x4 if you are going to Iceland and if you're gonna go to any of these hotspots, like because you do get to see pretty much all of them by just staying on the ring road. But if you would like to go on some of these gravel roads, you would have to have like a 4x4. And there's always like a risk, even with the 4x4, that if your car gets punctured, you always run into that risk. So just be aware. And this is where like the point about the satellite phone comes in. So if you are really keen on doing like a van life, or if you want to do like the 14-day trip and you want to cover every single part on the ring road, be sure to look into the satellite phones that they have, and that way you're much more safer. And the lighthouses, again, like it's every single one of them is different, and I believe that's because of each time that they were built, and they all are very unique. And that's the thing that I like about lighthouses. They are all very unique. And again, like I'm gonna add the photos of some of the lighthouses that I did see during that trip. And we're going to continue on about the natural formations. Now, Iceland is like a heaven for anyone interested in geology, anyone interested in the natural earth formations. If you are a nerd about it, you're going to have the best time ever, because everything from like the ground to the vegetation, there's hardly any vegetation really. There's only like 20% to 20 to 25 some percent of the land that's covered with vegetation. And the native tree is called like the native birch tree, and it's only covered like about like 1%. They're trying to like do more afforestation. They're trying to like plant more native birch trees. But you can like really see like the entire island is covered with lava, and all of the sand that's out there, it's pretty much from lava. And there's gonna be lots and lots of moss, and that's one key thing about moss. Like, and since there's like hardly any vegetation, they are all protected. So don't go there like touching the moss. So be careful about the moss. Any of the plants, any of the vegetation that you see, make sure you're not disturbing the ecosystem. Like, don't mess with the ecosystem. Leave no trace. If you are used to the rules in the US, like leave no trace. If you ever go visit a national park, like just go visit and don't leave any like trash. Just leave no trace. Like that's the simplest thing. So like leave no trace. And it's not that hard to not go and voluntarily like don't disturb the vegetation. You can see the moss. I get it. It looks so cute. It looks like, for me, they look like the trolls from the movie Frozen. And you look at all of that and you might be tempted. Don't be tempted. They are very much precious, and just imagine that it's growing in a place that has been like destroyed by lava, and all of this vegetation is pretty much going on top of like the volcanic stones, like the lava rocks. So all of these lava rocks in itself, they are pretty sacred if you ask me. And think about like the vegetation, like just think about it. It's growing on lava rocks, and it's speaks to the resilience that Earth has, that even if everything gets destroyed, there is still like life. It can get rebuilt. And people are trying to do more and more afforestation. Like I said, they're trying to like plant natural birch, which is like native to Iceland. So they are trying their best to get the afforestation done, have more vegetation, because like if everything is just sand and they don't have vegetation, it's more prone to erosion, and Iceland already being on like earthquake prone zone, you can imagine like having so much erosion going on. And so speaking about lava, there's lava pretty much everywhere that you turn around. The roads are practically built on top of like lava fields, and this is not like lava from like 2024 or like 2020. This is pretty much from like thousands and thousands of years ago. Look, Iceland has been very active like for thousands of years, and then it's been dormant for quite some time, and now it's again starting to become more active in the recent years. So it's not like the lava from like 2 years ago. So they are not You're not pretty much you'd have to ask for permission to go into the active zones. They have it like covered up. They close it out for safety reasons. Even if you're like a photographer, if you're like trying to go on a tour, you need like to be with the guide, and the guides have the permission to take you up to a certain point, and you can like, go up to a certain point and visit the active zones, and they constantly like monitor that, and if there's going to be an active event, they pretty much ask you to like leave. It doesn't matter if you already are with the guide. Even the guides are asked to leave. Everyone, it's for safety purposes, they ask everyone to evacuate if there's an active event. So yeah, things are being monitored constantly, and if there's an active occurrence, you would be asked to evacuate pretty much immediately. And just keep that in mind if you do get to go to an volcano expedition. Um, Now, if you do want to go to um, just see all the lava fields, I do recommend the Stampar area. That's where like lava has flown into the ocean like thousands and thousands of years ago. And there is a trail in the Stampar, and you can like I think walk. Again, when you walk on the trail, do not disturb the vegetation, but you are welcome to walk on the Stampar lava field. So you that's a highly recommended one, and it's pretty much like on the it's on like side of the road, so you can go stop by there. Kind of looks very sci-fi way. I felt as if Superman had been in that place. So if you want to check out the Stampar, to check it out. And speaking about lava, I'd also have to talk about the tectonic plates. Now, if you've watched my previous video, you already know Iceland is like basically made up of two tectonic plates, the North American tectonic plate and the Eurasian tectonic plate. So these two plates are constantly moving like apart from each other. Like they say it grows apart like 1 inch per year. So that's not a very drastic change, but it is significant regardless. Like you think about like if you let like 12 years pass, you have about a foot of separation between those two tectonic plates. That is very notable, but you don't actually feel it if you're there. You're welcome to like walk in between those two tectonic plates. They have bridges between the two tectonic plates, and you can go take a walk over the bridge. Nothing's gonna happen. You're gonna be fine. And there's also the silfra. Again, if you watch my previous video, you know the silfra fissure, which is in Thingvellir National Park, is the fissure that's forming between those two tectonic plates. So you can snorkel in the Silfra fissure, and you can also like go deep dive if you have deep dive certifications. And it's an amazing place. Like honestly, I you cannot like ask for anything amazing than that, because you have such clear glacial waters that you can like just look down 100 meters deep, and it's still like clear. You can look at the bottom of the fissure just from even like the surface. The water is that clear. All right, so we've talked about some natural formations. So now there are so much about like the cliffs and just like walking around Iceland. You have fjords, you have the West Fjords, you have the Eastern Fjords. So those are also such an amazing place. Now, I had not been to the West Fjords, even though it was on my list. I do highly recommend going to the West Fjords. And if you at least went to this Snaefellsjökull Peninsula, the famous Game of Thrones peninsula, you would know even like the cliffs and the formations over there, they are really amazing. Like they have such great formations by the ocean, and you should definitely like get out of the car, take a walk. And speaking about the cliffs and all that, um, keep in mind that when you park your car, make sure like you park against the direction of the wind. The winds are going to be like very powerful, and so if you park like in the opposite direction. When you open, basically like when you open the door, it should be like hard enough to open the door, but like easy enough to like close it. But if you are parking in the same direction as the wind, the car doors are gonna be blown off, and that's gonna run up your car premium insurance, and someone will have to come get your car and all that. So yeah, always park against the wind. And the easiest way to know that is if you park your car, when you try to open the door, it's gonna have to be like a lot more difficult to open the door. And just remember that. And always like keep an eye out for small things like that. So when you're driving and when you feel that as soon as like you open your door, you feel like it's not hard at all, like immediately like close it. Or the other way to test it is just roll the windows down. Just roll the windows down just a teeny tiny bit before you open the car door, and you will know which direction you'll park. Yeah, don't lose the car doors. Keep your money safe and keep your car safe. Now, going back to the cliff, there are lots of like cliff formations in Iceland, and every single one of them is gonna be spectacular. And if you are a photographer, you have to stop at every single one of them. You know the drill. Like, don't miss it out, and keep in mind about like the sunrise and the sunset times, because you're gonna want to have the best lighting. So yeah, definitely make a note of the sunrise and sunset times when you are there, and like stop at the cliff at the about pretty much the right time. If not, you're gonna have to like edit it quite a bit in the Lightroom. So yeah, keep in mind about that. So we've talked about the cliffs, the Lost Temple, lava flow, and about like the lighthouses and the churches and the tectonic plates. We've covered all that. Now, there's also another amazing natural formation in Iceland, which is the geothermal hotspots, which are the geysers. If you've been to Yellowstone, you know it's gonna stink. So keep that in mind. But there are a few geothermal hotspots which you can like walk pretty close up to, just like Yellowstone. And they are really amazing. And there's also like gravel road to most of those. So at least the ones that I went to had like gravel roads. So keep in mind. And these geothermal hotspots, they are about like 100 degrees Celsius. So don't burn yourself. Be careful when you walk around the area. And after that, there's like lagoons. Now, if you watched like my very first video from Iceland series, you know the lagoons. There are two major ones right by the city or the airport, which is the Sky Lagoon and the um, more famous Blue Lagoon. And they both are really good. But there are also so many other lagoons, and now you might have already seen it, but there are so many like secret lagoons, and they're pretty much all kind of the same. So if you want to do this one of the secret lagoons, you're welcome to. But if you don't want to like take risk, if you just want to like play it safe, I would just pick either the blue or the sky lagoon. But yeah, there are lots of lagoons, and there's also lots of swimming pools in Iceland, which again, I guess it's a culture. Swimming pools, a sauna, hot tubs, and the lagoons are all like kind of like a Iceland culture. So people do get to enjoy that quite a bit. So if you're ever there, do enjoy it, and you'll not regret it one bit. Like it's the water's gonna be like warm and nice. So yeah, you're gonna have fun. All right, so we've talked quite a bit about the natural formations, and now I'm gonna jump into one of the major natural formation, which I haven't spoken up until this point. Can you guess what? The waterfalls. So Iceland is covered in waterfalls, and there's like so many waterfalls. Everywhere you turn around, pretty much, there's gonna be like a waterfall. Not all of them probably has a name. Maybe they do have a name, but so he's not on like the Google Maps. But there's waterfall like the entire area, like the entire island is covered with waterfall. And they have a name for waterfalls in Iceland. Like Icelandic language is very interesting one, so definitely take a look into that. It's called waterfalls, as in like FOSS, falls. I mean, it sounds similar. It's called waterfalls. In English, it's waterfalls. So it sounds similar. But yeah, every video that you've looked about like Iceland, the top must go place would be one of the waterfall. And don't worry, if you're traveling on the ring road, you've got plenty of waterfalls around. And if you miss any one of them, okay, don't worry about it. You're gonna stumble upon another one just down the road. So yeah, you've got so much waterfall, and make sure like you have your windproof, waterproof layer on. Just take that one note from me. A jean, like a Levi, is not enough. Been there, done that. I'm never gonna do that. Take if you are gonna wear a jean, like still keep a pair of windproof, waterproof layer with you at all times, like from head to toe, because it's gonna be cold. It doesn't matter what's the temperature outside. When the wind starts hitting, it's gonna feel a lot colder. And yeah, closer to waterfalls, it's gonna be a lot colder. And a lot of times it'll look like the waterfalls is closer to you, but it's just a perception. The reality is different. You're gonna have to walk quite a bit to the waterfall, and since it might look like it's a plain, it's not like hiking in the US where the waterfall is someplace and you kind of know that you have to like climb up the mountain in order to like see it or whatever. Here it might look flat and you can like directly like see the waterfall in like front of you, but it's again a perception. So if this is like the waterfall, it might look like closer to you and you're like walking over, but the more you're like walking and walking and walking, it just keeps getting like farther and further and farther away from you. So it's quite a bit of a walk. Be prepared for that. And make sure that you do have your like windproof, waterproof layer so you're prepared. Two main things that I did not do during my trip were the ice caves and the diamond beach, um, and also the black sand beach. I did not go through the south part of the island, so I missed out on pretty much like a half of the ring road. Um, or I could say I just did like one fourth, maybe like 40% of the ring road, which is still a lot for me for the given week. But the other 60% I couldn't like kind of do. But pretty much the only things that I did miss that were on my list were the ice caves, which is in the southeastern part of the island, and then the Diamond Beach and the Black Sand Beach, which are both like in the south, closer to like the area of Vic. Um, so those are some of the places that you might want to check it out, and add it to your list because those are like pretty amazing. And the Black Sand Beach, I've been seeing on more recent news that the Black Sand Beach is like kind of closed and that there's so much erosion and there's high tide. So keep that in mind. Just make sure to check the news. Like some of the things might be closed. Things are constantly changing. But yeah, Black Sand Beach is kind of sad for a lot of people who have it on their list. At this point, it might change again and might change in the future. At this point, I don't think people get to go to Black Sand Beach as much as they had been before. And the thing about the Diamond Beach, even when I was traveling, I've heard about the Diamond Beach in two different ways. So the Diamond Beach, the two sides of the coin that the two kinds of review that I heard was one school of thought was like, it was amazing, it was spectacular. Oh my God, you see like huge rocks, like huge icebergs. And the other side, the other part of the review from people who actually been there was they're not that great. They are kind of like hail, like they're tiny, like golf ball sized. So it's not a big thing. It's not like much needed, like especially if you've been in around like the Great Lakes or even like the Midwest, like been like Chicago, or like any Great Lakes, like you would see similar like ice formations in the Great Lakes. So yeah, I've heard two sides of the story, so I wasn't really gonna go just to like have like a chance of it. The main the main thing that I can say that I did miss honestly was the puffins, but it was not the right time. If you want to go see puffins, or if you want to go into the highlands, you need to go in the summer, and that's when you're going to have so much daylight and you're going to have like the midnight sun. So all that summer. If you want to see the northern lights, if you want to just go do like the ice caves, those things you do want to go in the winter. And especially since I wanted to go see the northern lights, I was so happy that I did go closer to the winter, which October was kind of pretty wintry, but wasn't exactly winter either. So I think I overall picked the right time to do it, and I was happy about it. The only thing I missed was the puffins, which I could always do it another day. But yeah, those were some of the things that I did miss, that a lot of good things that I did not miss. All right, guys, so we're here, um, almost at the end of the video, end of this Iceland series, which makes me really sad because it's been an amazing journey. Like the entire Iceland trip was so amazing, so great. And just like I hated that actual trip coming to an end, I don't like that this series is coming to an end, but hey, here we are. And as promised, I'm going to talk about the whale watching tour. It was the most spectacular way to end the tour. I was staying at Reykjavik the last 2 days, and one of the nights, like the first night, like I went from the silfra snorkeling and I headed straight to Reykjavik. I checked in at the hotel and I got some nap, and then I went out to see the northern lights. It was again like a little bit snowy side, so we were like a little bit shivering. Everyone was pretty much shivering in the city, but we got to see such a variety of lights in the city, and I was like very thankful. And there's also the very famous church in the city, and I was so grateful to be able to see the Northern Lights from that vantage point. It was just beyond amazing. I could like see the purples, I could see the pinks, the reds, and the greens. Obviously, there's just so much going on. And we've had a pretty amazing storm like 2 days ago or something. And the probability of seeing Northern Lights was so much higher that day. And it was totally, totally worth it. And if you are worried about being sleepless in Iceland, it's totally worth it. Being sleepless in some other place, maybe not worth it, but being sleepless in Iceland, especially when you get to see the Northern Lights, totally worth it. 10 out of 10, 100 out of 10, like no notes. And the next day, I had my whale watching tour, and that was set at pretty early in the morning. I had my whale watching tour pretty early in the morning. And the place was probably like a mile from the hotel. I stayed at Hotel Alda, and it was very convenient. Like you could walk the entire downtown from that hotel. And I could have walked to the watching tour because it was just like a mile um, from that place. But it was so cold and I was so tired from the previous night of being out watching the Northern Lights. So with it all being like cold, and the whale watching tour is like 3 hour long, and you are going pretty deep into the ocean. So I was like, I already have like a long day in front of me. I don't want to like walk and spend all the energy. So I booked a cab. Now the cabs in Iceland are a little bit different. It's not like Uber. So I booked a cab and they came, and there was something pretty funny that happened. Like this cab was very stereotypically one of those cars that would come to hijack people. And I said, I'm not going in this cab. I was like, "Mm, I'm not. I've seen enough like Hollywood movies to know that this is the car that they use to kidnap people." But it was just funny because it's not the one. It's just so funny because I was so worried about the car, and I was like, where would they go? This is an island. Like where are they gonna go? Um, but yeah. But I'm glad I made sure I double checked that that was the cab. Um, and I think that was just a bit of a culture shock for me. Having gone from like the Uber go to Iceland. It was supposed to be like a normal cab, like it was supposed to be like just a normal Uber. And there I have like a Uber XXL. It was such a big car, and the chauffeur was dressed up. He was just missing a bow, but he was like fully dressed up in his suit. So you can understand, like I was like, this is like limo. I didn't order a limo. I didn't order like an Uber XL. But it was silly. Hey, better be safe. Um, and yeah, I was at the whale watching tour like in some 5 minutes and paid the cab and got there. And the next funny thing was when you get to the whale watching tour, they're gonna ask you if you are prone to seasickness, and if you are, they do offer a seasickness tablet. Now, if you already knew that you were seasick, you do get seasick, and you have your tablet, make sure to take it. If not, they would offer you a tablet, and it's for purchase, so you could purchase the pill there, and hopefully it helps. Now, I've never been in the ocean before. I've been on like the Great Lakes before, and I thought that was pretty rough, but I've never been like on actual ocean cruises before. Maybe like I went like a few meters into the ocean. Um, but this one, you're kind of going like a few miles. They said some nautical miles, like yeah, I've never done like that. I've never been like that deep into the ocean. So I didn't know. I didn't know that I would get seasick. Like I was fine for the first hour, like the first entire hour that I'm heading into the ocean. I've been on like the ferries when I was in the Pacific Northwest. So I thought, okay, I've done the ocean before, but this is a different kind of ocean. And they didn't mention that it's gonna be a pretty rough day. Um, and I was like, I've seen it all before, and I was fine for the first hour. And then we get pretty deep into the ocean where the whales are, and I'm trying to take a photo and have a good time, and that's when I'm getting seasick. I was like, I don't feel so good. At that point, we were pretty well into the ocean because at that point, like the boat's rocking quite a bit. And we have about another like half an hour of like whale watching time. We already like spotted the whale. And so we have another like half hour to get that done. And then the remaining hour to head back to the shore. So this was like the entire thing was like 3 hour long. So it takes you like about an hour and something to head into the ocean. And then you watch the whale, try to watch it, try to find the whale, and then watch the whale for like another like 45 minutes or so. And then you head back to the shore. So I find that I am seasick almost at the half, um, almost at the midpoint of the trip. And if you know that you're seasick, you are supposed to take the pill like 30 minutes before you start the journey. I was really in a pickle at that point because I was like, I didn't know this is how you feel when you're seasick. And there was, I was like, yeah, I should have just got that pill. Um, and I probably had just like toast and Nutella for the breakfast because it was a pretty early tour. We probably had that at like 9 o'clock or something in the morning, and we're supposed to be done by like noon. So I had probably toast in the hotel, like pretty basic. And so I was starting to get hungry and seasick at the same time. It was a weird combination. So if you are going on the whale watching tour, I don't care about what gear you have, what camera, whatever. Make sure you know whether you are seasick or not, because otherwise you're not gonna like enjoy after watching the whale. So I did get to see the whale, which was really crazy, amazing. I was doing like the Avatar moment, but it was just starting to get like hungry. So after a point I got the cup noodles, the instant ramen cup noodles, which helped me a little bit. But yeah, it was kind of crazy, like having to see the whale. Then that was another point where I ran out of my SD card. That's when I ran off my SD card. Like that was pretty much the last day of my entire trip, and I was so excited to see the whale since I started like clicking so many snaps, and at one point I ran out of the SD. It's like memory full. You cannot take any more photos. And I was like, dang it. So yeah, always take more SD cards than you think you would need. Um, always be like more than prepared if you are into that kind of thing. That's especially like if you're seasick, make sure to take the pill. And if you are a photographer, if you're trying to like take photos, be prepared with more SD card. But yeah, the whole we were watching tour was just a nice ribbon, like at the end. It was so fantastic just to be able to see those creatures out in the wild, just doing their own thing. I mean, this world is so big, and we are all like just specks in the whole grand scheme of things, and it's just very humbling to be able to like travel and see so much. And it's just so humbling to be like travel quite a bit and see so much of the world and just know that you're like a small speck in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, guys, so we are here at the end of the video, the end of the series. It was an end of an era. Like Iceland was definitely something that will be with me for my entire lifetime, and I had an amazing time. It was such a magical place, and there was just so much wonder and the beauty of nature. And God, like I was definitely glad I made the trip. I made the jump to go and see. I also went did the silfra, and saw the whales. It was just so beyond my wildest imagination. It was so wonderful to see amazing spots and to be able to just how to like savor so much different types of cuisines. And yeah, it was like amazing and amazing and amazing. All right, so we are here at the end of this series, this video, and so I'll see you again in the next video. Although Iceland journey is over, we've got so much more to explore. The whole world is out there waiting for us. So we'll talk in the next video and with another series. All right, guys, have a nice day.